Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going deep on nonverbal communication,
The silent language our bodies speak.
right? You know, whether we realize it or not. And we've got an amazing resource to kind of break all this down.
Yeah.
A collection of audio lectures and a workbook by Joe Navarro,
Oh, wow.
former FBI agent,
You know,
with
well,
25 years experience in counterintelligence and counterterrorism.
wow. So we're essentially learning how to read people from a spy catcher.
I mean, think about it.
That's pretty cool.
Navarro honed his skills in these high-stakes environments
Yeah.
where like one missed cue could have crazy consequences.
Right.
So we're going to distill his expertise into these practical tools that you can use
Yeah.
to become a more perceptive observer of human behavior.
Absolutely. Uncover those hidden messages in everyday interactions.
Right. From business meetings to first dates to just navigating a crowded room.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let's unpack this a little.
Let's get into it.
Navarro starts by taking us straight to the control center, the brain. But not just one brain. He talks about three.
3 brains. Okay.
Yeah, he describes the reptilian brain responsible for those like basic survival functions.
Right.
You've got the neocortex where we do our thinking.
Yeah.
And let's face it, sometimes they're deceiving.
Yeah.
And then you have the limbic system.
That's right.
The limbic system, that's the emotional center, right?
Exactly. It's the part of the brain that reacts instantly and honestly to the world around us.
Yeah.
It bypasses conscious thought, and that's what makes it the driving force behind nonverbal communication.
I never really realized how much our limbic system is like a truth teller.
Oh, yeah.
You know, just broadcasting our feelings, even when we're trying to like keep them under wraps.
Think of it like this. Your neocortex might be carefully crafting your words,
Yeah.
but your limbic system is leaking out subtle cues that reveal your true emotions.
So even if someone is like projecting confidence,
Yeah.
their limbic system might be screaming, "I'm nervous,"
Yeah, exactly.
through like little behaviors.
Precisely, and this is where it gets really interesting. Navarro reveals what he calls pacifiers,
Okay.
behaviors we develop to manage discomfort.
Oh.
These aren't just signs of stress, though. They can even pop up in response to positive emotions.
Wait, so even positive emotions can trigger these limbic reactions.
Absolutely.
So basically, our bodies are constantly reacting to the world around us,
Yes.
even if we're not consciously aware of it.
Exactly. Imagine this. You get fantastic news
Okay.
and instinctively clasp your hands together or jump for joy.
Mm-hmm.
Those gravity-defying behaviors, pure limbic system excitement.
I love it.
Now let's get to the practical stuff.
Okay.
Navarro lays out 10 cardinal rules for effective nonverbal observation. He calls it a spy-worthy framework.
Spy-level intel.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. Spill the secrets.
Yeah.
What are these top secret techniques?
Well, first and foremost, you have to be a competent observer.
Okay.
Put down your phone, be present, and actually pay attention to the people and the environment around you.
That makes sense. You can't decode nonverbal cues if you're not even looking.
Right.
What else?
Next, observe everything in context.
Okay.
A behavior might mean something totally different depending on the situation.
Right.
Someone sweating profusely might be nervous about a presentation, not necessarily trying to hide a secret.
Yeah. Context is key.
Yes.
So it's not just about seeing the behavior, it's about understanding the why behind it.
Exactly. Now, here's a crucial point distinguishing between limbic and cultural behaviors.
Okay.
A gesture that's considered rude in one culture might be perfectly normal in another.
Oh, right.
We have to be careful not to misinterpret things based on our own cultural biases.
That's such an important point.
It is.
So we need to be culturally sensitive and avoid making like those snap judgments
Yeah.
based on our own limited perspective.
Right now, instead of focusing on single cues,
Okay.
look for clusters of behavior.
Clusters.
One isolated cue doesn't tell the whole story, but seeing multiple cues pointing in the same direction, that's when you have a stronger signal.
Like someone avoiding eye contact, fidgeting, and touching your neck.
Right.
That's a pretty clear sign of discomfort or something.
Exactly. To understand those clusters,
Okay.
you need to establish a baseline.
The baseline.
Observe someone's typical behavior so you can spot deviations when they might be under stress. Or, let's say, stretching the truth.
So it's like having a reference point.
Right.
Their normal behavior so you can see when things shift.
Precisely pay close attention to changes from that baseline, especially immediate reactions.
Okay.
Those are often the most revealing because they happen before someone has time to think and control their response.
So it's like those unfiltered reactions.
Exactly.
They're harder to fake.
Exactly. Navarro calls it the primacy of reactions.
I like it.
He also emphasizes that observation should be non-intrusive.
You don't want to stare people down.
Right. You'll just creep them out.
Right.
And finally, simplify things by asking, does this behavior fit within comfort or discomfort? Most limbic behaviors fall into one of these categories.
Okay, so we've got our brain basics and our spy-worthy observation framework.
Right.
Now let's get to the good stuff. What kind of specific secrets can our bodies reveal? Where do we even begin?
Believe it or not, we're starting with the feet.
Hold on, the feet?
Seriously.
Really?
We learn to control our facial expressions from a young age, but our feet, not so much.
Right.
They react instinctively, often revealing our true feeling.
Okay, now I'm intrigued. What kind of foot-focused intel are we talking about here?
Well, for starters, look at couples.
What?
When they're comfortable with each other, their feet will often touch or intertwine. It's a subtle but powerful sign of connection.
So even if a couple isn't being overtly affectionate,
Right.
their feet might be telling a different story. I got to try this at my next dinner party.
You should.
What other foot-focused secrets should we be looking for?
Think about how feet reveal our emotions. If you see someone on the phone and their toes are pointed straight up, it's a good indication they're hearing good news or feeling positive.
So they're literally defying gravity with their feet
They are.
because they're so happy. I love that.
It's a subconscious limbic response to excitement.
Okay.
And then there are intention cues if you're talking to someone and one of their feet starts pointing towards the exit.
They're thinking about making a run for it.
Exactly. Even if they haven't said anything,
Right.
their feet might be signaling their desire to leave the conversation.
Wow.
So pay attention to those subtle shifts in foot orientation.
This is amazing. I'm never going to look at feet the same way again.
I know, right?
Okay, so feet can be surprisingly revealing. But what about our legs?
Legs.
Are they as chatty as our feet?
Absolutely. Like feet legs are incredibly truthful in their communication.
Okay.
Crossing your legs, for example, is generally a sign of comfort and relaxation.
Because you're more vulnerable when your legs are crossed.
Exactly. It's a position that leaves you off balance. So we only do it when we feel safe and at ease, but if someone suddenly uncrosses their legs,
Oh.
that could be a sign that they're feeling threatened or uncomfortable.
It's like their limbic system is saying, get ready to move.
Exactly.
So crossed legs are good, uncrossed legs, maybe not so much.
Yeah.
What other leg signals should we be aware of?
Even the direction of the leg cross can be revealing.
Okay.
We tend to lean even slightly towards people we like, even when crossing our legs.
It's like our bodies are subtly expressing our preferences, even when we're not consciously aware of it.
They are.
So at my next networking event, I'm going to be checking out everybody's leg angles. All right, what else?
Now, here's another fascinating aspect of leg behavior, gravity-defying actions.
Okay.
When we're excited or feeling positive,
Okay.
we tend to literally defy gravity
Yeah.
by bouncing on the balls of our feet or rising up on our toes as we spook.
Right.
It's a way of adding emphasis and conveying enthusiasm.
Like our bodies just can't contain all that positive energy.
That's right.
So if someone's got a little pep in their step, that's a good sign.
Absolutely. And conversely, a lack of bounce in someone's step can be a sign of depression or fatigue.
Okay.
It's like the weight of the world is literally pressing down on them.
This is blowing my mind. I never realized our legs were such chatterboxes.
They are.
But it makes sense. Our legs are powerful instruments of movement, so they're bound to reflect our inner state.
They are. And they can also be quite protective.
Okay.
When we feel threatened or uncomfortable, we tend to bring our legs together or use a crossed leg as a barrier.
Okay.
Almost like we're shielding ourselves.
It's like our legs are subconsciously building a little fortress.
They are?
So if someone suddenly closes off their leg space,
Right.
that's a sign to proceed with caution.
Exactly. Now, here's a fascinating concept, synchrony.
Synchrony.
Navarro explains that couples who are in sync will walk at the same pace, their steps mirroring each other.
Oh, wow.
It's like their bodies are dancing together.
I love that imagery.
I know, right?
So if you see a couple strolling along in perfect harmony, it's a good sign that they're on the same page.
Yes. But what about couples who are out of sync?
Out of sync.
Well, they might walk at different paces or with mismatched steps,
Right.
suggesting underlying tension.
So even the rhythm of our steps
Yeah.
can reveal the dynamics of our relationships. This is incredible.
And here's another intriguing point. We subconsciously adjust our walking pace to match that of higher status individuals.
Oh.
It's an innate way of showing deference and respect.
So if I'm trying to impress my boss, I should try to mirror their stride.
You should.
I never would have thought of that.
It's a subtle but effective way to communicate nonverbally.
Okay, so feet and legs can reveal a surprising amount of information.
Yes.
But what about the power zone?
The power zone.
Our hips, torso, and shoulders.
Yeah.
What kind of silent messages are they sending out into the world?
This is where we start to see how nonverbal communication can convey dominance, confidence, even sexuality. It's all about how we hold ourselves and project our presence in the world.
So like a powerful stance
Yeah.
can make a big impact even before we say a word.
Absolutely. One of the most striking examples is the arms akimbo pose.
Arms akimbo.
Hands on hips, elbows out. It's a territorial display, often seen in law enforcement or military personnel.
Right.
It instantly commands attention and projects an air of authority.
It's like saying, I'm in charge here,
Yeah.
without actually having to say it.
Yeah,
I've definitely seen people strike that pose in meetings.
for sure.
But what if you want to project confidence without seeming aggressive?
Yeah.
Is there a way to soften that pose?
Actually, there is if you do the arms akimbo pose, but with your thumbs facing forward,
Okay.
it becomes more inquisitive than intrusive.
So it's like, I'm curious. Now I'm about to lay down the law. Interesting.
Right.
What about genital framing? Is that really a thing?
It is.
Okay.
It's when someone tucks their thumbs into their belt or pants, so their fingers are framing well.
Yeah.
Researchers have found that it's a way of drawing attention to that area
Right.
and can signal sexual interest, especially in men.
Okay, so maybe not something you want to do at a business meeting.
Probably not. But it's interesting how our bodies can communicate such specific messages, even subconsciously.
Speaking of subconscious messages, what about the torso?
The torso.
It seems like a pretty neutral part of the body,
Yeah.
but I have a feeling there's more to it than meets the eye.
You're right. Navarro calls the torso the human billboard.
Oh, wow.
It reflects our social status, our cultural identity,
Okay.
even our sense of self through the way we dress and adorn ourselves.
So even our choice of clothing can be a form of nonverbal communication.
Absolutely. And then there's the concept of ventral fronting versus ventral denial.
Okay.
When we like someone or feel comfortable,
Okay.
we turn our torsos towards them, exposing our vulnerable front side.
It's like we're opening up to them both literally and figuratively.
Right, but if we feel threatened or dislike someone, we engage in ventral denial, turning away or creating barriers with our arms or objects.
It's like our torso is saying, back off. Fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to be paying more attention to how people angle their torsos from now on.
You should.
It's like a secret code for reading their true feelings.
It is, and we can't forget about the shoulders.
Shoulder.
They're more expressive than you might think. For example, a single shoulder shrug when expressing uncertainty is perceived as less credible than a double shoulder shrug.
Interesting. So even something as simple as a shoulder movement can affect how people perceive us.
Yeah.
What other shoulder secrets should we be aware of?
Well, think about how we use our shoulders to convey emotions when we're feeling confident and relaxed. Our shoulders tend to be lowered and loose, but when we're stressed or anxious, they often rise up towards our ears.
Oh, I do that all the time, especially when I'm feeling overwhelmed. It's like my shoulders are trying to hide my head.
They are.
So relaxed shoulders equals good. Tense shoulders equals not so good.
Exactly. And think about how we use our shoulders to communicate dominance. A broad-shouldered stance can convey power and authority,
Right.
while slumped shoulders can signal weakness or insecurity.
This is making me rethink my entire posture.
Me too.
Okay, so we've explored the feet, the legs, and the power zone of the hips, torso, and shoulders, but we've only scratched the surface of the body's silent language. There's still so much more to uncover.
There is.
What's next on our nonverbal adventure?
We're moving into the realm of the neck, arms, and hands.
Okay.
This is where we see a symphony of subtle cues reflecting everything from anxiety to confidence to our desire to connect.
Okay, I'm ready to decode those little signals. Let's dive in.
Let's do it. Let's start with the neck. It's such a vulnerable point,
Yeah.
both physically and emotionally.
I can see that, loaded with nerves and blood vessels,
Right.
often exposed.
Exactly. And because of that vulnerability, we see a lot of pacifying behaviors
Okay.
focused on the neck, touching, stroking,
Yeah.
even ventilating by pulling at our collars.
So those are all ways of self-soothing when we're feeling stressed or threatened.
Precisely. And women in particular often cover their suprasternal notch.
Suprasternal notch.
That little dip at the base of the neck
Okay.
when they're feeling insecure or threatened.
It's like they're subconsciously trying to protect that vulnerable area.
They are.
I've never noticed that before, but now we're going to be looking for it everywhere.
You should.
What about the head tilt?
The head tilt.
I've always kind of thought of that as a sign of engagement or interest.
You're right. It is a sign of engagement, but it goes deeper than that.
Okay.
It's also a sign of comfort and trust.
Right.
When someone tilts their head, they're exposing their neck.
Right.
Showing you they feel safe and receptive.
It's like a nonverbal way of saying, I'm open to what you have to say.
Exactly. But if their head suddenly straightens up,
Oh.
that could be a sign that something's changed.
Like they heard something they disagree with, or they're sensing a threat.
Precisely, pay attention to that shift in head position.
Sure.
It's a subtle but important signal. Now moving on to the arms. They serve as both protectors and barriers, depending on the situation.
So when we're feeling threatened, we might cross our arms,
Right.
creating a physical barrier.
Exactly. It's an instinctive way of shielding ourselves, but the way we use our palms can be revealing too.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Think about it. Palms down are often used for emphasis or dominance, while palms up can signal supplication or weakness.
That's fascinating. So if you're trying to make a strong point in a meeting, keep those palms down.
Yeah.
But if you're asking for a favor, palms up might be more effective.
Exactly. It's all about understanding the subtle nuances of nonverbal communication. And of course, we can't forget about the hands themselves.
Right.
They're incredibly expressive.
We already talked about some of those pacifying behaviors, rubbing the forehead, pulling the hair, touching the lip.
Right. Those are all ways of self-soothing when we're feeling stressed or anxious. But our hands can also communicate affection and intimacy.
Like a hug or a loving caress.
Yes, when we genuinely care about someone, we tend to touch them with our full palms. It's like we're trying to connect with them on a deeper, more heartfelt level.
There's something so powerful about a full palm touch.
Yeah.
It conveys warmth and sincerity.
It does.
What other hand gestures should we be watching for?
Here's one that's especially relevant in the business world: steepling.
Steepling.
Yes, it's when someone brings their fingertips together but keeps their palms apart.
Okay.
It's a gesture of confidence and authority, often seen in leaders and negotiators.
I've noticed my boss does that all the time when he's making a big decision. Now I understand why.
Exactly. It's like a nonverbal way of saying, I'm in control here.
Right.
And then there's the interlacing of fingers.
Okay.
Thumbs up can signal confidence or happiness,
Okay.
while thumbs down suggests a lack of confidence or dislike.
Wow. So even the position of our thumbs can speak volumes.
Absolutely, and it's all happening subconsciously, which is what makes nonverbal communication so fascinating.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground, from the neck to the fingertips.
We have.
But we can't wrap up without talking about the most expressive canvas of all, the face.
The face, it's where we see the most nuanced and complex expressions.
Right.
Reflecting everything from fleeting emotions to deeply held beliefs.
All right, let's break it down feature by feature.
Okay.
Where do we begin?
Let's start with the forehead.
Forehead.
It's one of the easiest places to spot anxiety.
Because the muscles tense up when we're stressed, creating those telltale wrinkles.
Exactly. It's a reaction that's hard to control, even if we're trying to appear calm.
So a furrowed brow is a pretty reliable indicator that someone's feeling the pressure. What other facial cues should we be attuned to?
Well, we can't talk about the face without talking about the eyes.
The eyes.
Often called the windows to the soul. They reflect our emotions through dilation, constriction, and various eye-blocking behaviors.
It's like they're constantly sending out signals whether we're aware of it or not.
Exactly. For instance, our pupils tend to dilate when we see something or someone we like.
Okay.
It's an instinctive response that's hard to fake.
So if someone's eyes are sparkling, it might more than just good lighting.
Right.
There might be some serious limbic activity going on.
Right. And on the flip side, when we feel threatened or uncomfortable, our pupils constrict.
Oh.
It's like our body is trying to narrow our focus, almost like we're preparing for a potential threat.
It's like we're trying to shut out whatever's causing us discomfort.
Exactly. It's a way of protecting ourselves from visual overload or a perceived threat.
What about the eyebrows?
Eyebrows.
They seem pretty static.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing they play a role in nonverbal communication too.
They do, and one of the most fascinating eyebrow movements is what we call the eyebrow flash.
The eyebrows.
It's that quick upward movement of the brows when we recognize someone we like or are pleased to see.
Like a nonverbal hello, good to see you.
Exactly. It's a universal signal of recognition and positive intent. And then, of course, there's the smile.
The smile.
We all know a smile can be genuine or fake.
Right.
But how can we tell the difference?
I've always heard that a real smile reaches the eyes.
You're right.
Creates crow's feet.
A genuine smile, often called a Duchenne smile, engages the muscles around the eyes,
Okay.
while a social smile, or a fake smile, only involves the mouth.
So a real smile goes beyond the lips. It lights up the whole face.
Exactly. A genuine smile is reflected in the eyes. It's a sign of true joy or amusement.
Okay, moving down the face.
Mm.
What about the nose?
The nose.
We all know we touch our noses when we're feeling stressed.
Right.
But are there other nose-related cues to watch for?
There are when we're stressed. The delicate hairs inside our nose become more sensitive,
Right.
which is why we tend to touch or rub our noses more when we're anxious.
Like our body is subconsciously trying to soothe that irritation.
Right.
So a nose rub doesn't necessarily mean someone is lying.
Not at all. It could just mean they're feeling a little bit stressed.
Okay.
And then are the nostrils dilated? Nostrils can signal anticipation or physical exertion.
Like when a runner's nostrils flare before a race.
Exactly. It's the body's way of taking in more oxygen in preparation for action.
So if you see someone with flared nostrils, they might be about to make a move, literally or figuratively.
Right now, let's talk about the lips. They're incredibly expressive, reflecting a range of emotions, from happiness to sadness to anxiety.
And one of the most common lip behaviors is licking, touching, or biting.
Exactly. Those are all pacifying behaviors, ways of self-soothing when we're feeling stressed or uncomfortable. And when the lips disappear, becoming thin and tight, that's a sign of intense stress or anxiety.
It's like the body is trying to hold back whatever emotion is trying to burst forth.
Precisely. And finally, we come to the chin. Touching the chin is often associated with pensiveness or contemplation.
Okay.
While touching the jaw is more of a pacifying behavior.
So if someone is stroking their chin, they might be deep in thought,
Right.
while someone rubbing their jaw might be trying to calm their nerves.
Yeah. Exactly. It's fascinating how such subtle movements can reveal so much about what's going on inside our minds.
This has been an incredible journey through the language of the body.
Good.
I feel like I've gained a whole new level of awareness.
We too.
But there's one big question that's been on my mind throughout this entire conversation. Deception.
Deception!
Can nonverbal cues really help us spot a liar?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah, can we really become like human lie detectors just by observing these nonverbal cues?
I hate to disappoint you, but it's not that simple.
Okay.
There's no single behavior that screams, I'm lying.
Right.
What we often perceive as deception is actually distress or discomfort,
Okay.
which can happen whether someone is being truthful or not.
So someone like sweating bullets and avoiding eye contact might just be nervous.
Right.
Not necessarily a con artist.
Precisely. That's why it's crucial to establish that baseline
Right.
and look for deviations from that person's typical behavior.
So we need to know what's normal for that person before we can jump to conclusions.
Right. It's not about looking for those universal lying cues, but noticing when someone's behavior changes.
Right. And context is everything.
Yes. Context is key.
A behavior that seems suspicious in one situation might be perfectly innocent in another.
Exactly. Like someone touching their nose a lot might just have a cold.
Right.
Not be trying to pull a fast one.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's about putting those behaviors into perspective and considering all the possible explanations.
Absolutely.
So no foolproof lie detection techniques.
Right.
But that doesn't mean nonverbal cues aren't helpful in kind of assessing someone's truthfulness, right?
Absolutely. Well, there's no single tell that guarantees someone is lying. Research has shown certain behaviors are more likely to occur when someone is being deceptive.
Okay, I'm all ears. What are some of those red flags?
For one, liars tend to use fewer hand gestures when telling a lie.
Oh, really?
It's almost like their body is instinctively trying to hold back the truth, even as their words are spinning a different story.
So someone who's normally very animated might suddenly become very still when they're lying. That's counterintuitive. I would think they'd be more fidgety.
It seems counterintuitive, but their movements might become more controlled.
Okay.
Almost like they're overthinking every gesture.
So instead of those like natural hand movements that usually accompany speech,
Right.
their movements might seem stiff and rehearsed.
Exactly, and pay attention to their voice.
Okay.
Liars often speak in a higher pitch, or their voice might crack or tremble
Right.
when they're trying to deceive someone.
It's like their body is betraying their true emotions.
Yeah.
Even as they're trying to keep up a facade.
Exactly.
What about other physiological responses like blinking or swallowing?
Liars often exhibit those too excessive blinking, difficulty swallowing,
Okay.
even changes in breathing patterns.
Right.
These can all be signs of the stress that comes with lying.
So these are all physiological responses to stress, which can get amplified when someone is trying to lie.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember that these behaviors can also occur in truthful people.
Yes.
Who are just feeling anxious or under pressure.
Exactly. We have to be careful not to jump to conclusions based on one or two isolated cues.
Right.
It's about looking for those clusters of behaviors and considering the context.
Okay, so there's no magic bullet for spotting a liar.
Right.
But by paying attention to these subtle cues and using our critical thinking skills,
Yes,
we can become more adept at recognizing when someone might be trying to mislead us.
precisely. It's all about honing those observation skills and becoming more attuned to the nuances of human behavior.
This has been incredible. This whole deep dive, we've gone from the brain to the feet.
Yeah.
From subtle cues to high-stakes deception.
Yeah.
I feel like I've learned a whole new language, the language of the body.
Me too. And it's not just about understanding other people.
Right.
This knowledge helps us understand ourselves better too.
Now that you mention it, I've definitely noticed some of these nonverbal patterns in my own life. You know, I tend to touch my neck a lot when I'm stressed, and I never realized what that meant until now.
That's the beauty of this knowledge. It illuminates those little mysteries of human behavior. By recognizing our own nonverbal patterns, we can become more authentic communicators.
So if I realize I cross my arms when I'm feeling defensive,
Right.
I can consciously try to keep a more open posture.
Exactly. It's about taking control of your nonverbal messaging
Right.
and making sure it aligns with your intentions.
That's such an empowering thought.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, if I see someone mirroring my body language,
Yes.
could that be a sign that they're feeling connected to me?
Absolutely. Mirroring is a powerful way of building rapport and establishing trust.
Right.
It's like saying I'm on the same wavelength as you without actually saying it.
It's like our bodies are having a conversation beneath the surface.
This is incredible. I'm starting to see nonverbal cues everywhere now.
I know, right? That's the fun part.
Yeah.
Once you start paying attention, it's like a whole new world opens up. Okay, so we've explored the science, the techniques, even the personal implications of nonverbal communication.
Right.
As we wrap up this deep dive, what's like the one big takeaway
Yeah.
for our listeners?
I think the most important thing is to remember that nonverbal communication is a powerful tool, but it's not a magic bullet.
We can't just use it to manipulate people
Right.
or get what we want.
Exactly. It's about using this knowledge ethically and responsibly.
Yeah.
It's about becoming more aware, more attuned, and more empathetic in our interactions with others.
So it's not just about reading people.
Right.
It's about connecting with them
Yes.
on a deeper level.
Precisely. It's about using nonverbal communication to build bridges, foster understanding, and create more meaningful relationships.
This has been an incredible journey into the silent language of the body.
It has.
I feel like I've gained a whole new set of tools for navigating the complexities of human interaction.
Me too. And the best part is we can continue to learn and grow, becoming more fluent in the language of nonverbal communication every day.
So to all our listeners out there, keep your eyes open and your minds engaged.
Yes.
The world is speaking to you, even when no words are spoken.
Absolutely.
Till next time, keep diving